Okay, shalom brothers. Welcome to another episode of GMS Walk and Talk. This is just a little extra lesson for you brothers, because Elder Ramlab and myself were discussing Isaiah the 29th chapter, beginning at the 22nd verse. And this is dealing with Jacob now, his face shall not wax pale. Now, when you read that scripture, in the true context of the word pale, it has nothing to do really with color. Right. Okay, because first of all, pursuant to Revelation 5 and 9, it tells you that Israel will be coming from all nations. You know, the Israelites are scattered among all nations, so you're going to have Israelites coming out of all nations. Right. The ones that were scattered. As a matter of fact, I'll go and read it right now. The book of Revelation 5 and 9. Go right to the point. It says, and they sung a new song, which is this knowledge, this truth, saying, Thou art worthy to take the book and to open the seals thereof. The thou is Yahushai, which it's through Yahushai we got this truth anyway. For thou wast slain and has redeemed us to the Most High. That's Yahushai. The Yahushai redeemed us to the Most High. By thy blood, out of every kindred and tongue and people and nation. So what does that tell you? You're going to have Israelites coming out of every nation, including the nation of Edom, Esau. Yeah. Right? So if they're coming out of the nation of Edom, Esau, what are they going to look like? Edomites, Esau. But that doesn't mean that they're Edomites or Esau. They're Israelites that look like Edomites. You know, if you have an Israelite scattered among the East Indians, he's going to look like what? Like an East Indian, Elamite. Israelite that's scattered among the Japanese is going to look like the Japanese, which are the Ammonites. Yep. Same thing with the Moabites. So you really can't use Isaiah 29. As a matter of fact, let's go to Isaiah 29 and 22 now. Isaiah 29 and 22 says, Therefore, thus saith the Lord, who redeemed Abraham concerning the house of Jacob, Jacob shall not now be ashamed, neither shall his face now wax pale. Now, in the old days, beginning with Elder Ariah, which we believe he's going to come back to the truth, even though he's going off right now. We know that he's a man of the Lord. And we know, pursuant to Zechariah, the 3rd chapter, exactly who he is. Back then, he used to teach that you use this scripture to prove that the Israelites will never look like the so-called white man. Right? Yep. Well, the scripture I read before that, Revelation 5 and 9, disputes that. All right? So you really can't use this Isaiah 29 and 22 for that to prove that point. All right? Right. And we'll show you this in this little lesson. You got something you wanted to say?
No. Yeah.
All right. So the 23rd verse, it says, But when he seeth his children, Isaiah 29 and 23, the work of mine hands in the midst of him, they shall sanctify my name and sanctify the Holy One of Jacob, and shall fear the power of Israel. And the 24th verse, it says, They also that erred in spirit shall come to understanding, and they that murmured shall learn doctrine. So let's go back and examine this. Therefore, Isaiah 29 and 22, Therefore, thus saith the Lord, who redeemed Abraham. Now, how did the Lord redeem Abraham? Genesis 17, 5 to 8. Let's see what that precept says. Genesis 17, 5 to 8. It says, Neither shall thy name any more be called Abram. Now this is the Lord Yahweh speaking to what would be known as Abraham. Neither shall thy name any more be called Abram, but thy name shall be Abraham. For a father of many nations have I made thee, and I will make thee exceeding fruitful, and I will make nations of thee, and kings shall come out of thee. Because the nation of Israel became so large, so big, it was like they were nations.
So like separate nations?
Like separate nations, so many Israelites.
Yeah.
And that's another thing too, brothers. You have to keep in mind that there are more Israelites than there are any other nation. So chances are, even though you might be looking at somebody of another nation, chances are that they might be an Israelite. There's every chance they might be an Israelite, especially when you check their spirit, when you read their spirit, because there's more Israelites than any other nation. Is it not written that Israel shall be as the sand of the sea?
Yep, that's right.
Yeah, so reading on the 6th verse, and I will make thee exceeding fruitful, and I will make nations of thee, and kings shall come out of thee, and I will establish my covenant between me and thee and thy seed after thee in their generations for an everlasting covenant, to be a power unto thee, and to thy seed after thee. So now, when you go to the 21st verse, it tells you what seed that came out of Abraham that the Lord established his covenant with. Because it just doesn't stop with Abraham.
Right.
All right? We go on to the next seed, which is Isaac, and here's the proof. Genesis 17, the same chapter, 17 and 21. But my covenant, or the Lord's agreement, another word for covenant is agreement, will I establish with Isaac, which Sarah shall bear unto thee at this set time in the next year.
Right. So if all nations were supposed to receive it, then how come the Lord had to make the covenant with just Isaac, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob?
Yeah, because Abraham had other sons.
That's right.
He had sons with Keturah, and he had Ishmael with Hagar. But Isaac, which he had with Sarah, or Sarai, which her name got changed to Sarah, was the one that was chosen. Now the New Testament, Romans, the 9th chapter, the 7th verse says the same thing, showing you that the New and the Old Testament, they go hand in hand. Romans 9 and 7, right? It says, neither because they are the seed of Abraham are they all children, but in Isaac shall thy seed be called. And then we know the story. Isaac had two sons, Jacob and Esau. And who did the chosen line go through from Isaac? It went to Jacob, not Esau. All right, so now that explains Isaiah 29 and 22. Therefore, thus saith the Lord who redeemed Abraham. That explains that. Now we know how Abraham was redeemed. All right, we just gave you a scriptural example. Concerning the house of Jacob, Jacob shall not now be ashamed, neither shall his face now wax pale. Now, Elder Ramla and myself were discussing this. If you use the latter part, his face shall never wax pale, you say that he'll never be or never look like a so-called white man, then you got to use the first part. Because it says, Jacob shall not now be ashamed. So are you saying Jacob will never be ashamed? You see? Jacob will be ashamed, and Jacob has been ashamed.
Right.
Because Jacob represents Israel, and we were brought to a low state, so we have been ashamed.
Yeah, right? Being in slavery, that's a shame. You know, because here it is, we're the kings and princes of the earth, but yet we have to be subject unto other nations, and we can't, you know, sit in a rulership position. So basically, what are we at? We're as servants. That's a shameful thing. That's
a shame. So are you saying Jacob, the scripture says, Jacob shall not now be ashamed. Are you saying we have been ashamed?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Still to this day. I mean, even though the Lord woke us up, now we know who we are. Now we know that the kingdom is coming, you know, but we're still in a low condition, a low spot.
Yeah, when you don't know who you are, you're ashamed.
Yeah.
All right? When other nations are over you, which you're supposed to be over the other nations, you're ashamed. All right? When you fear other nations when it's supposed to be the other way around, you've read the history. The other nations were terrified of us. But now it's the other way around. Now we're terrified of the other nations. Especially the so-called white man. How many of our people are terrified of the so-called white man? So, of course, now we have been ashamed. But notice the scriptures say, after the Lord redeemed Abraham. How is he going to redeem Abraham? Well, I gave you the scriptural examples, but that's really going to come to fruition when the Lord give us the truth, when he give us the knowledge, the understanding. That's us being redeemed. Then our face, well, we're going to get to that. We won't be ashamed. Here's an example of being ashamed. This is the book of Psalms 25:19 to 22. It says, consider mine enemies, for they are many. This is David speaking. This is, by the way, yeah, this is a Psalm of David, Psalm 25. It says, consider mine enemies, for they are many, and they hate me with cruel hatred. Isn't that us? Isn't that us today? Us Israelites today? Oh, keep my soul and deliver me. Let me not be ashamed, for I put my trust in thee. So the fact that our enemies are over us, that causes us to be what?
Ashamed.
To be ashamed. So if we go back to Isaiah, it says, Jacob shall not now be ashamed. So what time period is that talking about? That's talking about after we get the truth.
Yep.
Then we won't be ashamed. But for now, we're ashamed. We're in a low state, just like the elder said. Then it says, neither shall his face now wax pale. Now let's deal with that. I looked at that word pale, all right, from the freedictionary.com. And I was surprised by what I found out. Because this pale hair in Isaiah 22, that's see, Isaiah 29 and 22 is a dark saying, all right? This pale hair is an allegory, all right? That's what it is. It's not literal, not to be taken literal. As a matter of fact, the word pale, these are some of the definitions that I found out for the word pale. Feeble, weak. So now that we've been conquered as a nation, we are now what?
Feeble and weak.
We are now feeble and weak.
Yep.
All right? To decrease in relative importance. Have we not decreased in importance?
Yep.
Pursuant to Deuteronomy 7 and 6, did not the Lord say that we are a superior nation, a holy nation?
Yep.
Are we that right now?
Nope.
So we have decreased in relative importance.
Yep.
Here's the next definition. To lose superiority or importance. At one time we had superiority, brothers.
Yep.
We were over all the nations. Yeah, go ahead.
That's why Ezra in the Apocrypha said that other lords, you know, the other nations have
begin to be lords over us.
You know?
Right.
If we be thy people, why do we not have an inheritance with them?
That's right. That's right.
You know?
That's right. So this is these are examples of us being pale. Right now we're in a state of being pale. All right? When something is not shining as brightly as it should shine, what is it? It's pale. All right? Did not the Lord say that we are the light of the world? The Israelites is the light of the world. Are they the light of the world right now?
No.
No, they're not. Well, beginning with the elect, we're starting to be.
Yep.
All right? We're starting to shine that light, but that light is not shining brightly, not yet. All right? So we're in a state of being pale, brothers. All right, here's the next one. Of low intensity of light, dim or faint. That's another definition for pale. That's us. Let's look at the word faint. What does it say in the book of Jeremiah 51 and 20? Thy sons have fainted. Right?
Yeah,
Go ahead and say something while I look for it.
Yeah. So, you know, basically, you know, because you got these guys that try to use that scripture, you know, to try to say that you'll never have any Israelites that's going to be looking pale. And, you know, and the scriptures tell you different.
And we understand that, you know, that goes back to Elder Ariah. He used to teach it that way. But now we have the true understanding, brothers.
Right.
It is written, be perfect, even as our Father is perfect. All right? Sure. So we have to have the perfect understanding of these scriptures. And you got to labor to find that. You can't just, sometimes understanding will come right away, but sometimes you have to keep laboring, man, to get the full understanding. Well, now we got the full understanding. The definition says dim or faint, right, for pale. Yep. Listen to this. This is Isaiah 51 and 20. I'm sorry, Jeremiah 51 and 20. Or is it, I think it's Isaiah 51.
Oh, yeah.
Isaiah 51. Yeah, that's what it is. Isaiah 51 and 20. It says, thy sons have fainted. Meaning what? They became pale. Thy sons have fainted. They lie at the head of all the streets, as a wild bull in a net. They are full of the fury of the Lord and the rebuke of thy power. Yep. So that's another example of us being what? Pale. All right.
And you see it with these jakes out there, you know, on the corners, you know, hanging out, fucking pants hanging off their ass. Here it is, they're supposed to be the royal people, but they're acting like a bunch of degenerates.
They're acting like